Welcome to Travel Discovery. I am Lisa and I will be your host. Today we're going to talk about Thailand or the Philippines. Where is better to visit? Are you trying to decide between these two countries for your next vacation or perhaps to retire? The choice is not going to be easy. These two Southeast Asian countries are home to miles of stunning coastlines with picture-perfect tropical beaches and turquoise seas. And that's not all. Make no mistake, these countries have many differences. From the gorgeous coastlines, mouthwatering food, and bustling nightlife in Thailand to the crystal clear waters and the adventure-packed tours in the Philippines, it's not easy to decide which country you'd like to visit or retire. We're going to focus on a few areas: ease of travel, food, beaches, language, things to do, and some concluding remarks. For further details on both of these countries, check out my other videos. The link is in the description. Let's start with the ease of travel. Let's look at the ins and outs of traveling in and around Thailand. There are two international airports there. There's a cheap public bus that connects the two airports. Flying is the quickest way to get around in Thailand, but not always the cheapest. Plus, it won't take you everywhere. There are also lots of bus connections and a couple of train lines around the country. To get to the islands, you will usually need to catch a boat. Unless you're flying, you usually don't need to pre-book your transport. Just ask around locally to find the easiest options at the best rates. Traveling around the Philippines is somewhat harder compared to Thailand. This is because the Philippines is an archipelago made up of 7,000 plus islands. Again, flying is by far the easiest way to travel between the islands in the Philippines, especially since domestic flights are quite cheap and easy to book. However, while on paper getting around the Philippines seems relatively easy, the country is less developed than Thailand, and the quality of the roads means that the travel times are often extended beyond what Google may suggest. The weather can cause major disruptions like road closures and flight cancellations too. Let's talk about the food. Thailand is a food lover's paradise with its world-renowned cuisine, and there's a good reason for that. The mix of fresh ingredients, rich flavors, and variety makes it a great holiday destination for all foodies, from yummy pad thais from the street vendors to the range of colorful curries with rice. Thai food is hard to beat, especially if you like it spicy. Filipino meals are unpretentious and simple with less distinct flavors. It doesn't mean that food in the Philippines is bad, far from it. There are lots of great dishes, and they should not be missed when visiting the Pearl of the Orient. That does include adobo, kari-kari, pancit, lechon, lots of fresh seafood, and fish. Don't forget your dessert, your halo-halo. The beaches. Both countries are famous for having long stretches of white sands, turquoise, warm waters, all backed by tropical palm trees. Thailand has over 1,400 islands with some of the world's most beautiful beaches. From high-rising limestone cliffs to soft sands and shallow, crystal-clear seas, Thailand has no shortage of amazing bays that are hard to beat. Well, how do the beaches in the Philippines compare with those in Thailand? Well, they're pretty amazing, so it's not an easy task to choose which country wins this particular category. Think picture-perfect white sand bays, super clear waters with some of the world's best coral reefs. Both Thailand and the Philippines are world famous for their diverse marine life and offer some of the most affordable diving courses around. The Philippines are home to nearly 9% of the world's coral reefs. How widely spoken is English in Thailand? The short answer to this is that English is not very widely spoken, with only around a quarter of the population speaking English, and many of these only to a very basic degree. Fluent English speakers are actually quite rare in Thailand among the general population, so it's not a good idea to rely on English alone to get by over there. Having said this, many tourists who go to Thailand note the general cheerful and helpful nature of Thai people and rarely report feeling uncomfortable engaging with Thai people in shops or elsewhere despite their language barrier. So just keep in mind the official language in Thailand is Thai. On the other hand, in the Philippines, the official languages are Filipino and English. The Philippines is recognized globally as one of the largest English-speaking nations, with the majority of its population having at least some degree of fluency in the language. English has always been one of the official languages of the Philippines and is spoken by more than 14 million Filipinos. So for the most part, you can get by speaking English. To do. If you're looking for a well-deserved, relaxing beach vacation, then neither of these countries will disappoint you. Both Thailand and the Philippines are world famous for their beaches and diving spots. The Philippines has some of the deepest waters in the world. Thailand has some amazing rock climbing spots and jungle treks in the north. You shouldn't leave Thailand without tasting some great street food or visiting the incredible temples. In the Philippines, you could try out your surfing skills and do island hopping on Bangat boats. The choice between Thailand and the Philippines is not an easy one. Both these Southeast Asian countries have some of the best beaches and amazing diving and snorkeling conditions. They both have friendly people, great food, and low cost of living. So in conclusion, both these countries are not that similar if you take a closer look. Which country do you prefer? For greater details on both of these countries, check out the link in the description. See you next time on Travel Discovery to see what we will discover next. Happy travels, everyone!